Isn't it funny that every time something happens in Formula One, it just goes to show that I'm right? Bizarre, really, isn't it? Bizarre. Now let's just take this incident of the Sao Paulo Grand Prix qualifying being postponed after the rain. So let's click into this article on the BBC Sport website by our friend Andrew Benson, the person that will not reveal corruption in the sport, a journalist that can't do his job as a journalist, uh, can't look into the regulations, can't understand what the driving standards for the rules of engagement are, can't show that to people. No, but what he can present is the parroted narrative of what we get presented through Sky Sports. But anyway, Sao Paulo Grand Prix qualifying set for Sunday after rain postponement. So we can see that the session had been due to start at 6. Decision made was at 16:45 local time on Saturday after a series of delays, but the track was too wet and conditions were not going to improve. So the governing body, the FIA, said the decision on a new start time would be made as soon as possible. So, Formula One president Stefano Domenicali said the conditions are not safe to drive, as simple as that. And there is a problem also of light that very soon will hit the track. Sunset is at just after 1800 local time in Sao Paulo. So, Domenicali's interview with F1's official television channel was interrupted by Lewis Hamilton, who said, I want to go out. If you give us better wet tyres, we'll be able to go out and do this. So again, issue with the tyres supplied by the preferred supplier. A spokesman for the governing body, the FIA, said, so the governing body, FIA, said, the decision was taken because of the lack of visibility caused by the level of rain we have experienced in the past few hours. There is a lot of standing water on parts of the circuit, which renders conditions unsafe. As much as we would like to see the competition on track, the safety of drivers, team members, volunteers, officials, and spectators is our main priority. So, the sport of Formula One and the governing body, a spokesman from the governing body says, a decision has been made on the grounds of safety. What did I say about the safety car at Abu Dhabi 2021? What have I said from the start saying, oh, there's marshals on the track as they are completing lap 56, meaning you cannot carry out the unlapping procedure until the track is declared safe. Oh, it's a safety thing. The race director is in charge of safety and sporting fairness. Yeah, it's all about safety. And we can go to the regulations here. We can go to the FIA webpage and you can all do this. It's very easy to do. Let me just get the right document. When we go to the International Sporting Code, that underpins everything. We've got the regulations for Formula One, and this is issue number 7, published on the 31st of July. You've got the regulations and general undertaking. Nowhere in the regulations, as Karen will tell you, nowhere in the regulations does it say that Max has to stay on the track. Nowhere in these regulations does it say anything about driver standards and overtaking. But what it does say, okay, is this. General undertakings. All drivers, competitors, and officials participating in the championship undertake, on behalf of themselves, their employees, agents, and suppliers, to observe all the provisions as supplemented or amended of the International Sporting Code. So that's the general undertaking. If you're going to take part in Formula One, you observe the International Sporting Code. So Formula One has to observe the International Sporting Code. This is the International Sporting Code. And it tells you about the licenses, as I've done in my other videos. You come down to here, the FIA shall be entitled to, is the sole international sporting authority entitled to make and enforce regulations based on the fundamental principle of safety and sporting fairness. So Formula One has to comply with safety and sporting fairness. An appendix to this, Appendix L, now is the Code of Conduct for driving on circuits, and it details overtaking. Everything else that you are presented with is utter bullshit. So understand that when Karen here on the, not that one, let me get the right tab. I've got it up somewhere. Is it this one? Here he is. When Karen says this,
he is acutely aware of the guidelines that the stewards use. Now, these guidelines have been created by the stewards and the race directors and the FIA, basically, in consultation with the GPDA and the drivers. And it says quite clearly that if the driver is overtaking around the outside, they need to have their front axle at least alongside.
This is all bullshit. Okay, the actual regulation, I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to just play this through from Karen first.
The other car. So in this case, Norris needs to be fully alongside Verstappen. He wasn't, and therefore that wasn't applied. Nowhere does it say, because again, if I read that line, it says that the overtaking car must stay within track limits. Nowhere does it say that the car being overtaken, in this case Verstappen, must stay within track limits.
Nowhere does it say that the car being overtaken, Max Verstappen, has to stay within track limits, is what the media tells you as justification for Max Verstappen leaving the motor racing circuit. And it's bullshit. Okay, it's just bullshit, because this is the regulations. This is what is actually covered, and it covers any form of overtaking. And so what they've done, the media, in conjunction with the FIA, because the FIA has allowed its logo to be used for that presentation, they have cobbled that together to justify what is taking place in that show, and that is illegal. Any change to these regulations has to be confirmed by the FIA's own procedural way of doing it. That doesn't do so. They have their own procedures, and they are in breach of their own procedures. You can look at this. You can look at the FIA courts. You can look at the International Court of Appeal. You can look, they've got their ethics committee. You wouldn't believe it. They've got their ethics committee. Okay, they have their procedures as to how they amend regulations and the procedures that they need to go down in order to amend regulations. All that you've just been presented with by Karen Chandhok would not pass. The reason it wouldn't pass is because it's dangerous. So what he's trying to present you of Max being the expert of is entirely dangerous. You cannot set two drivers off to race to an apex and at that point there be the determining thing as to who is allowed to remain on the track or not. It's utterly ridiculous, and therefore the determining factor has always been, in terms of the guidelines as of the code of conduct for the drivers, is that determining point is in the braking zone for the corner, because that is where you slow your car down to an appropriate speed to take an appropriate line around that corner, depending on whether you're entitled to track room around that corner, depending on your location at the braking zone. That's not determined at the apex of the corner. It's far too late, and if you're too fast by then, just trying to win a race to there, then you are not in control enough to keep your car on the track. Hence, that's a safety situation. That's a safety concern. Common sense. Common sense. And the FIA, when they make a regulatory change, have to go down that process and would just throw that out. And what they will do now, having that being presented to us, is they will try to somehow incorporate the word apex in an amended version, just to make it look like that what has been said has some sort of validity. But it's bullshit. What's already there, okay, is exactly all that needs to be there. but they'll try and make it change just to make out that, oh yeah, what was there was confusing. It was a grey area. So now what we need to do is all of these times where it says any, okay, any driver who appears guilty of any of the above offences will be reported to the... What we need to do to make it clearer, we need to change all of those any's to all. And now it all makes sense, doesn't it? And that's what they'll do. They'll do some bullshit like that. But that's the truth. And let's just think back to Belgium 2021. So here we've got a qualifying session that has been unable to take place due to it not being safe to take place. So what did they do? Did they use the positions from the sprint qualifying to say, well, we're going to use them for the Grand Prix? Did they use the finishing order from the sprint race and say, well, that's going to set the grid for the Grand Prix? No, they've not, have they? No, they've postponed it because that's not what was being contested in this qualifying session. What is being contested is the competition for setting the grid for the Grand Prix. And that wasn't able to take place, so they've not used anything else to set the grid for the Grand Prix. They've postponed this competition to set the grid for the Grand Prix. Belgium 2021, they held the competition for the grid for the Grand Prix, and when it got to the Grand Prix, that Grand Prix couldn't take place. So they declared the result of the Grand Prix as the result of the qualifying competition for the Grand Prix. No, you don't get points for qualifying. A Grand Prix didn't take place. When you look down the FIA's own criteria, which I'll find for you now, and this is the regulations, this is this year's regulations, it's very similar to what was there for 2021, 52.2, as the safety car is approaching the pit entry road, the FIA light panels will be extinguished and a green flag and or green light panel will be displayed at the line. No driver may overtake another car on the track until he passes the line. Okay, and for the first time after the safety car has returned to the pits. The sprint session or the race will be deemed to have started when the leading car crosses the line after the safety car's return to the pits. At no stage in the Belgian race, I say it's race, I use the wrong word, the Belgian parade of 2021, did the safety car return to the pits and them cars remain out on track and begin racing. They paraded round behind the safety car and followed that safety car into the pits. During that parade behind the safety car, Martin Brundle and David Croft were saying, "Oh, so we're now officially underway." Sky Sports F1 lying to you that you were witnessing a race. That doesn't happen by chance. They are being paid to tell you that you are watching a race when all you're doing is watching cars parade behind a safety car. This is the FIA's regulations. You can go and look at them. You can dig out the 2021 regulations. This is what they still are. The sprint session or the race will be deemed to have started when the leading car crosses the line after the safety car has returned to the pits. It never happened. There never was a race in Belgium 2021. It never was a sporting event. They, the sport, didn't want to refund the fans who were in attendance. They pretended, look everybody, you've all seen a race, and we're in Belgium, so there's a lot of Belgian and Dutch people here who support Max Verstappen. Max qualified on pole. We'll say that Max won, and everybody can let off their flares and have a lovely time, and they'll go home happy. And that's all that happened. You've been lied to. Where in the media has ever told you that? That's a problem, isn't it? When you've been lied to, that's a fraud. Somebody has taken your money and they've kept it and not given you what you were paying for. You've been defrauded. Okay? That's what's going on. All right? So, what do I say? Everything is underpinned on the grounds of safety. Every sport, in any sport that you watch on the TV, there is a requirement for safety. The sports which are more dangerous than others, the contact sports, things like boxing, they have protocols. Okay, the referee jumps in at a certain point to try to prevent somebody getting severely damaged in a contest like boxing. Okay, they have protocols for requirements. If a referee doesn't do that, then the referee is responsible and charges can be levied against the official of the sport for not adhering to the safety protocols for carrying out that sport. It's not a case of, oh, let me know what you think in the comments section as to whether you think this should happen or whether it shouldn't. I don't care what you think. I'm just telling you what it is. Okay? And that's what I'm doing on this channel. I'm just telling you what things are. And yet, isn't it strange we get people that come to the channel that want to argue, want to tell us what they think, and it's irrelevant. It's absolutely irrelevant. They want to come here and pollute understanding. Some things in life are black and white. Some things they just are. There is a truth, there is a right, and conversely, there is a wrong. Now, here's the thing. If I'm telling you this is right, and somebody would like to argue that it's not, well, for a start, you're wrong. And for a second, it's not a debate. If I'm saying something and it's true and it's accurate and it's correct, and you're saying something and it is wrong, and you want to come here and tell me that you are entitled to your opinion, okay, stick your opinion where the sun doesn't shine, because it's irrelevant and it's wrong, and you're not entitled to anything. Okay? You are just wrong. And being wrong isn't useful in this world. As a species, as a planet, we should be evolving and actually just dismissing those that want to do things that are wrong. Okay? There should be some sort of consequence for those who want to go about things the wrong way. We would be going backwards by doing things the wrong way. So let's not do things the wrong way. And coming here to try and argue something that is wrong, well, it doesn't make it right, does it? I'm telling you what's right. You trying to say that it's a different thing and thinking it's a debatable thing, well, it's not. If I'm saying something is black and you come along and want to say it's white, there is no compromise. It doesn't make right and truth not be black. It doesn't skew that clear distinction of something is true, something is correct, something is this is what it is, this is black. You coming along saying it's white doesn't mean we have a debate and actually settle on something somewhere in the middle that's grey. Oh, we'll take a bit of what you want to say and a bit of what is being said here, and we'll merge the two and we'll settle on it in the middle and we'll make it grey. No. It's black. That's what it is. I don't care what you have to say about it. It's irrelevant. And what I'm saying to you is, this is the sport of Formula One. We are being lied to about it. There are rules to Formula One. Them rules have existed for a long time. What is happening? Why are those rules not being applied? Why are they pretending that nobody understands the rules? Why are they pretending that the rules are confusing? When something is clearly dangerous, why are they trying to invent a new set of rules to validate what is taking place that is dangerous? When clearly all we need to do is look at the existing rules that were developed that tell us what's allowed and what isn't. Okay, this code of driving conduct that the media is not interested in talking about. So what is going on? And I'll tell you what is going on. This show is corrupt. Formula One is corrupt. They are contriving it. They are manipulating it, and they are facilitating the outcome of what they want. If you apply the rules of the sport, Max Verstappen gets penalty after penalty after penalty, and he gets banned. And that is the truth of it. Some of the offences that he commits, they are bannable offences. Rather than do that, the media surrounding the sport tell us that we are watching one of the best drivers we've ever seen. And it's just the way he goes about things, and that's incredible. And the governing body in charge of making the decisions, they let him off. And they are compliant with the narrative by not imposing the relevant penalties that they state he will be penalised for. So that is corruption. And you don't hear anybody breaking it down like this. Why not? Because every form of media is corrupt. Every form of media that tells us the situation about what is actually going on is all corrupt. So what does that leave us? That leaves us in exposing this ourselves. And what is our platform for doing so? Well, that's social media. So we think that we can come onto social media and we have freedom of speech. We can say what we know to be true, and that message will go out to people. That's not the truth. And the reason it's not the truth is because even social media platforms are owned by them, those who are in control of the narrative. So the likes of Vanguard, the likes of BlackRock, the likes of State Street, and it's not just them, there are the other massive financial conglomerates, okay? They are the people that own everything and control the narrative. They control the media and they control social media. They own Facebook. They own Instagram. They tell you that Elon Musk owns Twitter. They own Elon Musk. Elon Musk is their puppet. They are ultimately the owners because they own Tesla. And Elon Musk put up his Tesla shares to buy Twitter. That is them putting him in place as a facade, as the frontman for it. But that is BlackRock and Vanguard seizing control of Twitter so that they control the narrative. Now, how does that work? Oh, it works through the mystery algorithm. And yes, when you write something on there, when you put something onto Facebook, when you put something onto YouTube, when you put something onto X, Twitter, when you put something onto Instagram, the algorithm will decide who else would be interested in that content. That's what they tell you. Who else? If you were one of the 108.7 million people who they told us watched the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix live, how many of that 108.7 million people might be interested in hearing that that event was a contrivance? Do you think Most of them might be interested in that. Do you think many were outraged in the aftermath? Does the algorithm that tracks people's cookies, that knows what people are interested in, does that not think to decide to show people the content that I'm making? What it does, and what they all do, is they make, if it's irrelevant, if it's mind-numbingly brain dead, then that is information that can flow freely, because that's not going to cause any harm. That's going to not educate anybody. It's not going to do them any damage. Anything that is a danger to them, they are going to put the brakes on it. What they'll do, they will enable it to be seen by a small number of people so that it doesn't set the alarm bells off. The content creator thinks that, oh, yes, I'm finally getting my point across and people are starting to see it. Okay, so that's an encouragement, but it's highly restricted. That's as far as it goes. And what we then get created is a small group of people that know what we're talking about, and we're all saying, yeah, this is what's happening, this is what's happening, but it's confined to just that. And what they do, they introduce their trolls to try to come here to create warfare, to undermine it, to discredit it, to get us exhausted with fighting off people here to disrupt, to be vile, to be nasty, to encourage, essentially, create a situation where those people that come here for information get tired of the kind of interactions that the trolls give them, and therefore they switch off to it and move their interests elsewhere. And eventually the content creator gets tired of feeling that they are fighting a cause that's going nowhere, and it fizzles out and it gets quashed and the information disappears. It's still there, but it gets shown to nobody. And that's what happens, and that's how they control narrative. And that's what's actually going on in this world. There's a truth. I'm telling you the truth. Or at least I'm doing my very best to tell you the truth. When I get it wrong, I apologise for it. I have got things wrong in the past. I made a video saying that Brundle and Crofty were saying that the safety car was ending before it was officially notified that it was ending. And I did so on the grounds that the safety car's lights were still on when they were saying it. I got that wrong. Okay? The actual notification had just been given. I backtracked and I apologise for that. I made a video probably over a month ago, and I need to revisit it. I've not had the chance to yet, where I suggested it appeared that the safety car may have been weaving as it went down the straight. When you look at Lewis Hamilton's onboard camera, it appears that the safety car is getting closer to the edge of the track and then coming away from it and then going closer again. Now, does that mean the safety car was weaving? Having looked at it again, probably not. Certainly not in the manner that the Formula One cars weave to heat their tyres up. Is it likely to be down to perspective of the camera on Lewis Hamilton's car? And is it likely to be to the track shape? Okay, whereby even if there's a slight bend in the track, then obviously it would appear, it might look from Lewis Hamilton's car angle and the direction that Lewis Hamilton's car is travelling that the track looks relatively straight. But actually, if there's a slight kink in it, then the line that would be taken by the safety car would clearly be close to the edge of the track at one point. As it moves through that kink, it would move further away from the edge of the track and then back towards the edge of the track. So it's likely to be that. So I do need to revisit that and demonstrate to people that probably, most probably, the higher probability is the safety car itself was not weaving in that manner. It would be highly obvious, you would think, as well, if it was. But there were 1 or 2 laps where we didn't see what the safety car was doing. You can only detect that from the onboards. When you saw it on the global feed, it wasn't weaving. Certainly didn't appear to be weaving when we got the pictures on the global feed from the footage that we saw. So that's something that I will say, hey, I said that and it was wrong. But the other things aren't wrong. Sport is underpinned by safety, as is every sport. Every sport has a governing body and has safety protocols. That's the world that we live in. Formula One is no different. That is what underpins the sport. That is why qualifying was abandoned today. And that is why they'll have to do something tomorrow. Now, whether they modify it, whether they then decide, oh, well, we've still not got time for qualifying, what do we do? Whether they then make an agreement, well, who knows? Who knows? Ultimately, a Grand Prix has got to be contested. If tomorrow they decide, well, what we'll do, we will utilise the qualifying grid from the sprint or use the finishing order from the sprint, and the teams and competitors agree to that so that they can actually get a contest on for a Grand Prix. And if that's the way they decide to do it, well, it's breaching what the regulations are. So it's actually, should that then qualify for the World Championship? Because it's not been carried out in accordance with the World Championship conditions, the regulations. Who knows what they're going to do? Who knows how they're going to sell it to us? Who knows if they do a Belgian parade again? Oh, if it rains again tomorrow in Brazil and they can't get a race on, what are they going to do? Are they going to line the cars up around the track, send them out for 2 laps behind the safety car, bring them back in and go, Lando Norris won that one. But because they only completed 2 racing laps, even though nobody was able to race, then we can only give him 12.5 points. Who knows? Who knows? But if that's what they do, remember, you didn't see a race. You didn't see a race because nobody was able to contest anything. That's not sport. That's a parade. So, I'm going to wrap this one up. But this is the BBC Sport website. This is Andrew Benson's Formula One section of it. It's got the how Sao Paulo Grand Prix qualifying failed to materialise. Norris wins Sao Paulo sprint. Piastri on Sao Paulo sprint pole. Verstappen handed grid penalty. Behrman replaces Magnussen. Scandals, crashes and rivalries. 8 dramatic F1 title battles. Then we come down. What does Norris need to do to catch Verstappen? Leclerc fined for swearing. F1 in 10 years. What do fans want to see? Oh, what do fans want to see? What if fans don't know? It's not about what fans want, is it? Okay, the sport is the sport. It does what it does for the reasons it needs to. If fans don't understand that, unlucky. Don't you worry your little heads. We're not going to ask you what you think in the comment section, because what you think is adding no value. How to follow the Sao Paulo Grand Prix? Verstappen knows he did wrong deep down, says Norris. Okay, so Ayrton Senna died in 1994. It's 2024, 30-year anniversary. Sir Lewis Hamilton got to drive Senna's McLaren around that track. Andrew Benson makes no note of that. No reference to that whatsoever. Now, NS&C has done a decent video about that. So if you've not been across to NS&C, it's another AI generated voice. But remember, there's an intelligent person behind that actually crafts what is being said and wants to remain anonymous, so they use an AI voice. But this is a good video to go and watch of NS&C's Ferrari unveils special tribute to Lewis Hamilton at Brazilian Grand Prix as McLaren, and it's that one there. Okay, so go and have a look at that. That's not their only good content. There's one that I'm going to actually, after this weekend, when we've got a bit of a break, I'm going to go into something else that they're exposing about the BBC. It's something I meant to do myself. They did a superb breakdown of it. So go and check out NSNC. FF1 has done this one. And won't be for everybody, but for those who can handle it, go and check this out. If it's not racism, what is it? Okay? If it's not racism, what is it? Because what we saw in 2021 was Lewis Hamilton being run off the track time and time again, and Max Verstappen getting away with it time and time again. Nobody had a problem then. Oh, Max is uncompromising. He's elbows out. Only now are we getting some of the drivers saying, yes, that's not acceptable. Where were they in 2021? Where were they in 2021? What's changed? Well, in 2021, who it was being perpetrated against was Lewis Hamilton. It was the same perpetrator, Max Verstappen. In 2024, the person that he's being perpetrated against is Lando Norris. They're both British. But now, people have a problem when it's being perpetrated against Lando Norris. They're calling out that Verstappen's doing something wrong. But they weren't calling it out when it was happening to Hamilton. What's changed? So, for those of you that can cope with that kind of presentation, go and have a look at that one. And the other one to go and have a look at is this one. So yet another quality video from Espinala44. Why is Verstappen victimising himself? And where was this British bias in 2021? This notion of British bias, so again, the way that Espinala articulates this is superb. Okay, this notion of British bias by somebody calling out the truth and somebody not liking the truth. You can't discredit the truth by saying, oh, you're just saying that because you're biased, because you're British. No, that's not the reason. It's just the truth is the truth. And you trying to undermine the truth by saying that somebody has a motive that's a wrong motive for saying the truth, well, that just shows you what scum you are. Scum. So, another great video to watch. If you've got the time, get yourself across to Espinala44. FF1 for that one. If it's not racism, what is it? And NSNC to have a look at that one there. All good channels. I'm subscribed to all three. I'd advise you to do the same. There are a limited number of YouTube channels that are actually truth-telling. They're actually talking straight. You'll see so many out there that are just talking bullshit. How many out there will be doing presentations, validating Max Verstappen, having discussions, having debate about, oh, what is it about who got to the apex first? It's all bullshit. I'm not interested in having a debate about what you think about who is entitled to a corner, depending on who got to the apex first. It's all bullshit. If you think that that's a conversation, you're a mind-conditioned prick. You can't see beyond that. You can't break down the mechanics of the situation to understand that you've been mind-conditioned. Oh, Karun Chandok is saying that this is the new guidelines, so I believe them because they're the sport. I'm telling you, the sport is lying to you. I'm clearly breaking it down and saying, hey, two cars going around a corner. In order to make it around that corner, side by side, challenge each other for position, they take differing lines. You can carry different speeds through them differing lines. If you go too fast, you will end up off the track because you cannot take a tight curve if you're going too fast. Where is it that you determine what line you're allowed to take and how fast you must be going to be able to take that line without running the other car off the track? Oh, it's not at the apex, is it? If you're too fast at the apex, you're not staying on the track. So those people that are trying to say, oh, the determining point is who's ahead at the apex. Utter bollocks. I'm not arguing with you. I'm not discussing it. I'm not debating with you. They are wrong. I am right. That's how it always has been, or that's how it's been for years. It got to that point because it took intelligent people working it out and outlawing the things that are wrong. Why are they reversing that now? What are they enabling? They're enabling their narrative that they are exciting the kids with to make them money and to fulfill their narrative. That's not sport. That's a contrivance, and this is what is wrong with this shit show. So I don't give a shit about anybody that comes here wanting to gob off. I could delete you, I could block you from the channel, but all you'll do is you'll make another fake account and you'll come back as someone else and you'll continue to do what you do because that's what you're paid to do, or that's how you're minded to conduct yourself in this world. Okay, and you are part of the problem in this world. But people do lots of different things for money, and those of you that are doing it for money, well, you're no better. In fact, you're worse actually, because what you're doing, you are damaging the minds of people, because some people will be convinced by what you have to say. Very few people here, because actually a good 90% of the people that subscribe to this channel are people that aren't the normal folk, because the masses, well, they'll believe Sky Sports. They'll believe Karen Chandok, and that's how they get away with it. Most of the people that come here are actually seeing, oh, what is being said here? Does it make sense? Oh, it makes sense. Is there evidence? Oh, there's evidence. Well, whose is the truthful account and who is lying? And it's not me. So, those of you that are minded to behave in the way you do, continuing to troll, ultimately, this world is going to change, and ultimately, there will be consequences for people. So just consider your position. You think you're protected, and at the moment, perhaps you are. But things will change. And ultimately, in life, all we can do is look in the mirror and assess what kind of human being is looking back at you. And that's who you are. That's who you are. Anyway, thank you all for your time. More to come on the Sao Paulo situation from 2021. I put out 2 videos about Lewis Hamilton's supposed rear wing infringement, the supposed rear wing test invented by Red Bull. There's more to come though, because didn't Lewis Hamilton have the super engine in Sao Paulo as well? Oh yeah, that's when Hamilton got his NOS engine, the cheat engine. So we'll have a look at that when I get the chance, and when I can find a way of showing footage that's not going to get blocked and comparisons. And didn't we still have the allegations of, oh yeah, is that flexing Mercedes wing that everybody knows that it was Mercedes wing that was flexing, they were cheating with? We'll have a look at that as well and see whose wing was actually flexing and whose wing is projected as being flexing. Again, because there's a truth and there is the opposite of the truth. And people come here to project the opposite of the truth, to try and undermine the truth or dilute the truth or get people to question the truth. And all I'm trying to do is evidence the truth. And for those of you that have got the capability to just look at what's being presented, and if you don't believe that I'm using authentic documents, you can find them exact documents yourself as I'm showing you how to do them. They're on the FIA website. You can read them with your own eyes because they exist. What you can't do, let me just show you again. You can go onto the FIA website and you can go to the sporting regulations and download those, which will be these. You can go and download the FIA International Sporting Code and you can download Appendix L, all on the FIA website. What you won't be able to do is download that. What Sky Sports said. Why? Because it doesn't exist. It's not official. So it's nothing to be guided by when making decisions about who is in the right or who is in the wrong, is it? And that's the truth. That's the truth. Why would you use this and not the official documents? Well, because if you use the official documents, it's clear that Max Verstappen is doing something wrong. If you use this, you could argue that this is why Max is the expert of this, because these don't say that Max has to stay on the track. What's happening there? What's happening there? The entire thing is being set up for one guy. The entire dynamic is being contrived. Think about football. What adds into football? The drama, the jeopardy, the two opposing sets of fans. Formula One didn't used to be two opposing sets of fans. Okay, there'd be the people that supported different teams. You might have had those that supported McLaren, Ferrari, Williams, whichever. They might have liked their team. Okay, you might have liked certain drivers. Now we've got the Orange Army. That's a different entity altogether. That's introduced an entirely different partisan element to it that never really existed in that manner. The Tifosi were always fanatical about Ferrari and still are, but that is not in the same way that the Orange Army is, because the Orange Army is just supporting Max Verstappen. The Orange Army didn't get behind Nick de Vries in the same way. It's all about Verstappen. The Tifosi aren't all about one driver. Okay, they are about the Ferrari car because that car comes from their country, something that they're proud of in that way. But this is introducing something to create tribal rivalry, something that they know incites people, a dynamic that they know then creates conflict that they can make profit out of. And then what they're doing, they are boosting that certain element to win, because they want to manufacture him to maybe supersede Lewis Hamilton as the greatest ever in the sport by giving him everything. They want to incite the fans. They want to incite the fanboy. The kind of behaviours that Verstappen exhibits, well, they know that them behaviours are the behaviours that the teenage wank boy aspires to, because that is the teenage wank boy mindset. We can go through the society, in the pockets of society, where that wank boy attitude exists. And I call them teenage wank boys because often the greatest proportion of them are teenagers. But some people, when they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, they still don't grow up. They're still, essentially, have got the mind of that teenage wank boy. And that is who it has incited. People who come to Formula One with their toxicity, with their hatred, and can jump on that bandwagon to engage in that manner. And this show knows that dynamic. This show knows who the types of people It is engaging. Done by design. These things don't happen by chance. They're done by design. Elon Musk didn't buy Twitter by chance. It didn't happen just because Elon's got so much money, he's just going to throw away however many millions or billions or whatever it was. He's just going to throw that away just for fun, just because he wants his own social media platform. No. Elon Musk is the puppet of Vanguard and BlackRock. And this is just yet another thing, another tool of theirs where they can control the narrative. They can control the algorithm as to who actually sees your tweets and how far they want the information you're putting out there to actually reach. Because lots of shit will go viral. Oh, something's gone viral. And it's some brain dead shit. Absolutely brain dead shit. Oh, the algorithm, everybody can see that. Something that's informative. Oh no, the algorithm doesn't show that to people. That's just the secret formula. Start waking up, everybody. There is a truth, and we're going to try and find it. But Formula One can be an example. Will hopefully wake a lot of people up. The way you do that is sharing stuff, because this is not going to reach people of its own accord. And even if you don't share this, start having these conversations with other people. Start waking people up with how hopefully you are now starting to see things being as they are, or maybe have always knew how they were, but maybe hopefully this is enhancing your perspective of it. I didn't always know this. I was skeptical of a lot of things in life, as many of us are. But it takes certain things happening in your life for you then to look into things in a deeper way. When you do, when you start digging, you start seeing more and more and more. And we need to start waking people up, because otherwise this will carry on. And it will only get worse, because they will exert their control as much as they can to keep the dynamics as they are, because it's working for them. They'll own everything, and our lives will be continually challenged in one way or another to keep us where we are, because that works for them. Thank you for your time.